Hello. I'm just working to make it. There we go. I promise my picture is not hanging sideways. It's just my camera's a little funky. So today we're going to get started on talking about 7th grade sketchbook cover design. So just a little reminder, you are required to have a sketchbook, and our first big project is going to be to make our sketchbook cover. So if you had me for 6th grade, I'm sure you probably remember we did something kind of similar to this. We made a little logo name design that's taped on really nice. So this year we're going to do something similar, but a little bit different, and I hope it's something you like. We're going to do a graffiti name cover. So I have for 2020 for 6th grade, they're going to do logo names. 7th graders will be doing a graffiti name style, kind of like this-ish. And my 8th graders will be making these really great little self-portrait designs. So you guys are in the graffiti name style. So when it comes to actually designing and making your graffiti name, you want to keep in mind that the size of it is going to go on the front cover of your sketchbook. So you could do what I did on this example. You could make your graffiti name smaller and maybe put like a piece of scrapbook paper behind it to make it look interesting. Or you could get a piece of paper that's exactly the same size as your sketchbook cover and just do your assignment larger on that paper. And I'd be fine with that too. So we're going to start out with learning how to write our name in some interesting ways. And we're going to practice doing this inside of our sketchbook. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll show you my example that I did last night. It's super duper long, right? It's a really long name. So I'm really hoping that you guys all have a short name. So for your graffiti name, you only have to do your first name and you only have to do what you want me to call you. So for example, if your name is Elizabeth Birchmeyer, you don't have to do Elizabeth Birchmeyer. You could just do Lisa if everyone calls you Lisa. Or you could just do Beth if everyone calls you Beth. So if your name is James, but you go by Jim, you just have to do Jim. Just keep that in mind. It's only what I'm going to call you. So for example, you guys are going to call me Mrs. Birchmeyer, which is a really, really, really long name. And so I did Mrs. Birchmeyer for mine. It's not done. This is only the first couple of steps, but I will work to finish it with you in this video, okay? So first step is going to be learning to write your name in an interesting way. And one thing that always helps me is, I'm going to show you on my computer. There we go. One thing that always helps me is starting out by just Googling graffiti names. And you see all sorts of really fun, interesting designs and ideas that pop up. So that way, if you really like something, if you see something that's really cool, you can aim to try to make your, sorry, one second. I'm trying to find, there we go. You can aim to make your design look like whatever you found that inspired you on the internet if you want to, okay? So the first thing you're going to do is we're going to just practice writing our name. So I'm going to show you a quick little easy trick to do this. If you had me for 6th grade, this is going to be old news to you. So this is kind of like a little review if you had me in 6th grade. I need to grab a pencil. Oh, here's one. I have one. I'm lying. I don't need to grab anything. All right, and I'll flip this down and around. Okay. All right, so this is my sketchbook. So there are some examples on this page. I am going to, I'm actually going to grab a different sketchbook to do my examples for you guys. All right, so my first name is Cassie, and so that's why I did Cassie on these examples. I'll mix it up a little bit today and do a different name just so you can see some different options. And these were all from one of my 8th grade assignments. So you can ignore all those pictures and all that stuff. Okay, so what you're going to need to do for this is you're going to need to have a pencil and you will need to have a Sharpie marker. It doesn't matter if it's a thin point or or it doesn't matter if it's a fine point or an ultra fine point or whatever Sharpie marker you have is fine. I'm also going to suggest having an eraser to erase stuff. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to write your name. So for this, let's say my name is Max. So if I just wrote Max, and I will write it a couple of times and do a few different examples for you. Maybe I'll switch it up, make some lowercase, some uppercase. So you can see some different examples. Okay, so after you write your name, just normal style, then you're going to take a Sharpie marker and you're going to outline your original drawing, just like that. And then you take your handy dandy eraser and you're going to erase the center of your name like that. It's kind of cool, right? And this is a really easy way to make bubble letters because I don't know about you guys, but whenever I try to just draw bubble letters, I'm always messing up the size of my letters. So maybe sometimes my A would be really big and my X would be really teeny tiny, or I would maybe write my name really big and then I would end up smooshing it in to try and fit it all on the page. So this just kind of helps to figure that out. So that would just be a pretty basic way to write it, but you could get a little bit more creative with this if you, maybe you could make more of a curly, whirly style. Make it look like balloon style, like that. And then you could erase your pencil. You could also get fancy and add things like maybe a curl. Maybe 2 curls. Just kind of making this up as I go. So, all right. All right, so now I have a really interesting name that I can color inside of. And what you'll have to do is you'll have to create these big bubbly letters because eventually we're going to color inside of them, like that example and like that example. So you're going to have to make sure you make your name big enough so that you can color inside of it and add a little bit of value and color to it. So just keep that in mind. You can also add things to your letters. Like on this one, I added a couple little arrowheads in some spots. You can kind of mix up if you're going to use all lowercase or all uppercase, or maybe a combination of both. Play around with what you like to do best. And if you're struggling with coming up with ideas, just Google search your name, and chances are you'll find some interesting graffiti names that look cool. So just something fun to think about. Okay, so I'm going to pause this for a second. What I would like you to do is inside of your sketchbook, I would really like you to come up with 6 styles of your name. Okay, so 6 different versions of your names in graffiti style. You don't have to worry about adding the bricks or anything. I just want you to think of 6 creative ways to write out your name. Okay? All right, so I'm gonna flip this around. Okay, so after you come up with all of your designs in your sketchbook and you have them all outlined and they look cool, you've erased all the pencil on the inside, I'm hoping that you found a design that you really like and you want to use for your final copy. So then what I would love for you to do is take your final copy paper, so the paper you're going to use for your sketchbook cover, and draw your name in the same way, that really interesting graffiti style that you came up with in your sketchbook. Draw that on a final copy version for your sketchbook cover. So if you have a sketchbook like me, the easiest thing to do to get a piece of paper the exact same size as your sketchbook cover would just be to take a page right from the inside of your sketchbook. And then, well, bam, you've got a piece of paper that's the exact same size. Or you could take a piece of printing paper and you could tuck it inside your sketchbook like this. Make sure it's all in there nice and neat. You could then trace the edges, take some scissors, and you could cut that out and it would also be the same size as your sketchbook. So it doesn't matter to me how you do it. It just has to be the same size as your sketchbook, or I guess it could be smaller and then you could use a fun background paper like this one. But okay. All right. So then you've got your name finished and it's on your final copy paper that's exactly the same size as your sketchbook or smaller. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to color it in. And what I would like for you to think about when you're doing this is think about the way that we did our color blending and color mixing on the very first assignment. And I want you to try really hard to do that to each one of your letters. So for example, I looked in my colored pencil box and I found 4 colors that blend pretty nicely together. And so I'm going to go through each one of my letters, blending them from one color into the next, into the next, into the next, into the next, all the way down my name. So for example, these are my 4 colors that I chose. I'm going to color it really, really dark at the top, that really, really dark value. Okay. And then as I move down, I'm going to have it get lighter and lighter and lighter, like that. And then I'm going to take my next color. I'm going to blend it into the pink and have it come down. I'm actually going to add a little bit more pink there. we go. And then I'm going to take my next color and blend it into there. Just the same way that we did all of our color mixing and blending in our last sketchbook assignment. Looks cool. And I'll do this to all of the letters on my name. The one thing I added to my example, you don't have to do this, it's just something that I added because I thought it was cool, is I took a black Sharpie marker and added a little kind of highlight off of, or a shadow off my name. You can do that if you want to, but you don't have to. And I'm sorry I had that upside down the whole time. Not bad. All right, so I will work on finishing this part of my name and I'll show you how to do the background. All right, so you'll see that I finished coloring in my name and I added a little black shadow. So you can color your name in however you like. You don't have to use the same colors. You don't have to use the same technique. The only thing that I ask is I'm just asking that you at least use what we learned in the sketchbook assignment with blending colors, and blend colors somewhere in your design. So another way to do this is I could have started my first letter with that dark purple and made the letter over on this side the bright pink and blend them all together in the middle. So just this was one way I went about doing it, but you can do it any way you like. And the reason I really like doing this style on these graffiti letters is it kind of looks like spray paint. It looks like you maybe took a dark purple can of spray paint and a pink can of spray paint, sprayed them, and then in the middle they kind of fogged together to create that style. It's just kind of a cool way to make it look interesting. Okay, so you're going to color your name in, and then we're going to work on adding some bricks to the background of our name. Okay, so I'll see if I can find my examples. Okay, so here's my example of my name. So we drew bricks in the background and we're going to add value to those bricks. So our name will be in color and our background will be done with value. So value, for those of you who don't remember from 6th grade, value is shading in with a pencil. So that is an example of what we're going to make our name look like. Okay, and for this, what you're going to need is you're going to need a ruler or a straight edge to make your lines. So I'm going to pause the video and see if I can find some rulers or straight edges, and then I will continue in 1 second. All right, so I wasn't able to find a ruler, but I did find a piece of paper that I can fold up and make the lines on my paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, well, hold on. I'm going to get a different paper because that one didn't work the best. Let's see what I can find. All right, I found a piece of paper that has dinosaurs all over it. It's my son Drake's. I think it was to one of his puzzles or something. All right, there we go. So now I got a good line I can use. It would work so much better if I had a ruler, but this will do. So what you're going to do is you're going to make a straight line across the whole background of your paper, and you're going to pull it down a little bit and do that again. And you'll keep doing this for the entire paper. Since I don't want to draw it in front of my name, because these are bricks and they're supposed to be behind our name, I'm going to continue, but I'm going to kind of skip over everything that I have drawn. So I'm skipping any areas that I need to skip. And if you wanted really, really small bricks, you could put your lines really close together. If you want really big bricks, you can make your lines really far apart. There we go. Okay, so now I have lines all over the back side of my paper. I worked really hard to try to make my lines as close to the same width as possible. If you have a hard time with that, you might have to actually take a ruler and measure it out. But I just did it. Okay, so then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your straight edge and put it up and down. And when it's up and down, you're going to draw a line in every other space on your paper, like that. Then you'll move your paper over a little bit, and you're going to go back and draw a line in the opposite spaces. Move over a little bit and draw a line back in the same ones that you did the first time. And you'll continue doing this all the way across your paper, and this is going to make a nice brick pattern behind your name. It's a little confusing at times trying to remember which ones you've already drawn in, but you can do it. I'm drawing that one, I'm not drawing that one. All right, so now I have this really nice brick pattern behind my name. But we're not finished because if you remember back to the examples I showed you a second ago, if I can find them quick, I will show you. We're going to then add value to our bricks. So you can see in this one, I started adding value to the bricks. Okay, so I'll show you how to do that. the entire background of our name is going to have value. So this definitely takes a lot of time. Do not rush it. I would say expect this next step to take an entire day's worth of art time. So don't rush this at all. Go slow and steady and make sure it looks nice, because this is going to be the front cover of our sketchbooks and we're going to have to look at it. And so you don't want to mess it up. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your pencil, and I suppose you could use a black colored pencil, but I think it looks better when you use a pencil. And the other good thing about using a pencil is if you make a mistake, you just use your good old eraser and it works good. But I'm going to show you how you're going to go about shading these in. So what you're going to do is you're going to outline the entire brick. And you're just going to work one brick at a time. Because if you try and work more than one brick at a time, I'll know, and you will get a bad grade. So make sure you're going slow and taking your time and doing this part right. All right, so I'm outlining the entire outside of the brick, really dark value, like a deep, deep color. Okay. The next thing you're going to do with a little bit lighter value is you're going to shade it in a little further, lightening up your value, shading it in a little further, lightening up your value, shading it in a little further. And you'll keep doing that until the whole entire brick is shaded in. Like that. And one thing I like to do is I like to then take my eraser and just kind of smudge it together and kind of smear it a little bit. So I like to take my eraser, just kind of smudge it together, smear it in a little bit. And it's done when you have an entire brick full of gray value with a white center, just like those examples. And you could get creative if you want to. You can add a little kind of crack in your brick or whatever you like. You don't have to do that, but that's just something I like to do because I think it looks cool when it's all done. All right, and you're going to go in and fill in every single brick in the entire background of your name. And then we're done with our sketchbook cover for 7th grade, which is our graffiti name style sketchbook cover. All right, so I'm working on my bricks. As you can see, it's taking me a long time. I paused the camera for a while and I still have a lot of bricks to do. But another thing I did is down below, I added the date. You can do that. You don't have to, but you can if you like. And what I would suggest doing is start doing the bricks behind your name. So I'm going to continue kind of over and down, make sure I get all the bricks around my name done. And then if I want to just take a shortcut and cut a couple of rows off of the tops or the bottom of my paper, I can do that. You don't have to, it's just a suggestion. Just to kind of cut down on the time, because filling in all those little bricks in the background does take a lot of time. And another thing that I want to be sure to tell you is I just want to remind you that in the supply list that we talked about earlier, keep in mind that I put having a sharpenable pencil, a wooden pencil is best, like that kind of pencil, because if you have a mechanical pencil, it's really, really hard to blend and shade all of your bricks to make them look nice. So is it possible? Yeah, I'm sure a lot of students could do it, but it's definitely more challenging and you don't really need that challenge. So if you have a regular old sharpenable pencil, that would be the best for this project. All right, so I'm getting kind of lazy, but I'll share with you what's going on. So I started coloring in all the bricks, and I think they're looking really nice. And my sketchbook has kind of a fun pattern on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out the bricks just like this. So I'm going to cut out this white area and this white area and not put those on my sketchbook. And I'm just going to have this center part as my design. So you could either fill the whole entire page in and have it all bricks, or you can just kind of trim off some of the extra parts. I know it's a little bit lazy to do it this way, but I really think it's going to look cool. So I'm going to find myself some scissors real quick. I'll be right back. Gonna look in my son's pencil case. It doesn't look like he has any in here. Oh, he does. He does. All right, so close that up. I'll cut this out and show you what it'll look like when it's done. And I thought this would be kind of cool to have this little part of the bee kind of cut out. So I'll show you. There we go. But on your project, you should have 100% of whatever is the cover of your sketchbook colored. So 100% of my name's colored and 100% of the bricks that I'm going to use are colored in. All right, so take that aside. This part should be easy. Straight across. There we go. All right, so that looks kind of cool, right? And I thought it would be really nice to leave the background of my sketchbook showing. So it will look like, like that when it's done. So that is what our sketchbook name is going to look like. So it could look like that, or maybe I could put it sideways if I wanted to. But yeah, and before or in the past, I've had a few of my students do something like this. They'll cut out a couple of these little edge bricks just to kind of give it a groovy little fun design. So you could choose to do something like that on your edges. So maybe I'll cut that one out and this one out. There we go. All right, and then it just kind of adds a fun little textural design. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. But anyway, that is what our sketchbook cover design is going to look like. Okay, so mine doesn't really take up much of my sketchbook cover. My sketchbook cover is really, really big, and my name is pretty small, but you could fill an entire piece of paper with your graffiti name if you wanted to. You can get kind of creative with it, okay? All right, so that is the entire 7th grade sketchbook cover design.